Hello everyone, this is Dragons After Dark, and welcome to the Pet Battle Report, your weekly news and information source for all things pet battle. Today we're going over my recommendations for which pets to focus on first for your shiny and polished pet charms. Before we get into that though, let's go over everything going on this week on Azeroth and beyond for your pets. Starting off with the Shadowlands, we have the Venthyr Assault going on right now, which offers no pets for us to collect, but this will transition over to the Night Fae on the Friday evening reset for NA, followed by EU. For the Night Fae Assault, we're looking to have the quest A Shady Place up, which gives you access to the Rift and the treasure for the Infused Ether Worm. Even if this isn't up, you'll still have a chance for the Invasive Buzzer from the Assault Cache. In battle for Azeroth, Enzoth is assaulting the Vale of Eternal Blossoms, which means the rares The Forgotten and Will of Enzoth will spawn, giving you a chance for the pets Cuddly from The Forgotten and Corrupted Tentacle from the Will of Enzoth. Until the Friday evening reset, the Akir Assault is up in Uldum, where you'll find the rares Skixtraz, who has a chance to drop the Akir Tunneler, and Lord Ajkarai, who drops Rot Breath. Once the Friday evening reset comes along, the new assault will not offer any pet drops from rares. Then for the islands this week, we have the Dread Chain, Molten K, and Ungol Ruins. And for the salvage, it's Dread Chain, Yorundal, and the Rotting Mire. As for the Vol'dun Assault, the next one for NA will be Saturday at 5 PM Pacific, while for EU it will be on Saturday as well, but at 8 AM Pacific. Heading back one more expansion to Legion, we have the quest Out of the Frying Pan in Dalaran from Darinus the Learned, which begins a short quest chain that rewards the Wormy Tunkin's pet. This quest will last 2 weeks, so until the reset on the 30th for NA and 31st for EU. This quest is completable once per character and is up about twice a year, so don't miss out on getting this really handy pet. And that's about it. We're really light on weekly content this time around since we have no holidays or pet-specific events going on. The Sign of the Emissary is up, which gives you a bonus to rep gained from world quests, so if you're still trying to get some of those rep pets from Dragonflight factions, this week would be a good time to work on that. Before we get into my list of pets to focus your charms on first, using the Random Pet button on Warcraft Pets, let's take a look at our pet spotlight for the week, the Rabid Nut Varmint 5000. This is a wild, mechanical pet that can be found in Azshara, the Stone Talon Mountains, and Winterspring, and its flavor text reads, "Considered by most to be a significant improvement to the 4000 series, there were nonetheless serious concerns about the amount of heat they produced. Because it's a wild pet, it's owned by a high number of Xufu's users at a little over 81%, but its use in strategies is marked as low, showing up in only 9 on Xufu's. Fun fact, I've never used this pet in any of my strategies. However, that doesn't mean it can't be useful in the right situations. If you're looking for a mechanical pet that can put a hurting on critters, this is a great option. Not only does it have Thrash, which is a beast attack, but it has Overtuned, which can increase your speed and potentially make you faster than your enemy, depending on your breed and the enemy's stats. Increasing your speed to be faster than the enemy means you'll always hit the enemy with 2 Thrashes with a chance at a 3rd hit. And if the enemy isn't sporting any elemental attacks, you'll be happy to know that the Nut Varmint is the only mechanical pet with Rabid Strike. Rabid Strike is a single attack ability that functions like Flock in that it applies the equivalent of shattered defenses and increases the damage the enemy will take by 50%. The drawback here is that unlike Flock, it also increases the damage the enemy will deal by 25%, hence why you don't want to use this if the enemy has elemental attacks and you need the Nut Varmint to last as long as possible. However, you can also use this to set up for the next pet if you know you can Rabid Strike before you die. All that being said, this pet comes in 8 breeds, making it a little more difficult to try and get a specific one. If you did want a specific one, I'd go for the PP or Pure Power breed. With Overtune increasing your speed by 100% for 2 rounds, this breed can make quick work of your enemies with Thrash or Metal Fist. If you need some damage mitigation, it has extra plating, but you'll be swapping out Overtune for that. As for Rabid Strike, your other option in that slot is Repair. And that's going to be it for the Rabid Nut Varmint 5000 and our pet spotlight for the week. Now for the pets I think you should focus on using your charms for first, I'll be doing my top 5 of each charm, and of course this is just my personal opinion, so let's get started. We'll go over the shiny pet charm pets first. For those that don't know, shiny pet charms are the obsolete pet charms that were used from Warlords of Draenor until Legion. There are a total of 10 pets that can be purchased with the shiny charms and a few toys, and all the pets can be purchased on the auction house, but you'll usually accumulate these charms quite easily. As example, I have well over a couple thousand just sitting in my bank in bags with not much to do except collect virtual dust. First up for purchase I would suggest, and it's probably the only must-have, is the Lost Netherpup. Out of all the pets we'll be talking about for shiny pet charms, this pet doesn't really have an alternative for its moveset. It's a great option for beast family fights, and is in a high amount of strategies. It only comes in one breed, which is great, and though it's giving up a little health, it has a nice speed stat at 305 and an okay power stat at 281. What makes it stand out amongst beasts is the combination of Howl with 2 big hit abilities in a separate slot, Dark Flame and Maul, as well as the ability Shadow Shock, which is great against humanoids. This is a wonderful little pet to add to your collection and costs 200 shiny pet charms. The other 4 pets have equivalent or better alternatives, but would be great additions if you have some gaps in your roster and the charms lying around. First up, we have the Nightwatch Swooper for 100 shiny charms, and this one has the great combination of being a flyer with Call Darkness and Nocturnal Strike. This is a great combo for family fights or fights in general. The Dusty Sporewing has a typical moth moveset and will cost you 50 shiny charms. So, if you've looked up a strategy, you're short a moth but don't want to grab a wild one, you can stop by your Garrison or Dalaran in Legion to pick up this pet to round out your moth team. The Plump Jelly will cost you 50 shiny charms and can make a great addition to a jellyfish team. One of my favorite combos with the jellyfish pets is to Rain Dance, Squeeze, and then Tentacle Slap. While the critical strike chance from Rain Dance is a coin toss at 50%, when this hits in combination with Squeeze, it hits, especially if you're up against an elemental. And last for the shiny charms, we have the River Calf for 50 shiny charms. I like these little guys because they have a pretty good moveset. They aren't just for going against critters with beast attacks, though they do have Bite and Headbutt. They can go against elementals with Water Jet, mitigate damage with Stone Skin, but can also level a stun with Clobber, and has an attack with bonus damage when an enemy is stunned, with Takedown. That's it for these shiny charms. The only must-have from this section is the Lost Netherpup, but if you don't have any of the others in the form of alternatives and you have the charms, this can be a little easier than hunting down the wild pet versions or versions from more difficult sources. Before we move on to the polished pet charm pets, let's take a look at our strategy spotlight for the week. With the release of Zeralet Cavern, we have some of the toughest fights we've seen all expansion, so I'd like to highlight Agent Rock's strategy against Trainer Orlog. This strategy uses 3 common pets in the community, Zufu, Cub of Zuyen, Mechanical Pandaren Dragonling, and the Flare Youngling with no breed restriction. It's a simple and straightforward strategy against Orlog and mitigates the enemy's abilities almost perfectly. So, a big thank you to Agent Rock for creating it, and I'll have that linked below for anyone interested in trying it out. Now for the polished pet charms. We've had the polished pet charms since Battle for Azeroth, meaning there were quite a few pets to choose from for this set. We'll be going over my top 5 to focus on, so let's get started. First up is debatable for people, so we'll call it a tie, but my suggestion here is the Ranishu Runt if you're looking to do family type achievements. The Ranishu Runt is an absolute powerhouse and has 2 weather abilities, Call Lightning and Sandstorm. What makes it so great is it also has Focus, so if you decide to use Sandstorm, you can use Focus to mitigate the reduced hit chance from Sandstorm, and it also gives you a speed buff, making this slow powerhouse into a decently speedy one. I can't think off the top of my head any other pet that can do this without the assistance of another pet outside of elementals who don't need the buff to hit chance. I also love having this pet on my Sandstorm team for PvP because of Focus. The Ranishu Runt will cost you 250 polished pet charms. Second to me, but first to quite a few others, is the Accursed Hexxer. The The Hexxer is a great addition in general to your roster. It has great longevity from its phase shift ability and drain blood, and also has a building damage ability with Arcane Blast. Also, since it's a magic pet, you won't take more than 35% of your HP in one hit. The downside of this pet is it costs 500 polished pet charms. Now that isn't the 10k of the flawless amethyst bobbleworm, but it's not an amount to sneeze at either. Third is the Bloodfeaster Larva. One of the great things about the BFA expansion and beyond for critters is we get a few more critter pets on our roster with burst abilities. In general, you're not going to find many critter pets with big hit abilities outside of things like Headbutt, which can be a problem when facing enemies with boss type buffs that mitigate how much damage you can do. However, Burst is just like Explode, which can ignore those buffs and take a nice chunk from the enemy HP. It's also decently fast at 314 speed, so you can usually set up when you want to use Burst. It does also have Ooze Touch, Skitter, and Creeping Ooze, giving you a nice range of options if you're trying to do damage before you use Burst. In the same slot as Burst, there's also Acidic Goo if you're looking to give your damage a boost or set it up for the next pet. This pet will cost you 200 polished pet charms. Fourth is Floofa. Floofa was a great addition to our roster, and I love using it in combination with a pet that has Spirit Claws. Floofa can use Moon Tears to get the weather to Moonlight, then Fade to get a free swap in for your pet to use Spirit Claws. If you're looking to do team damage, it has Arcane Explosion or Spirit Firebolt for single target damage, especially against flyers. Floofa will cost you 250 polished pet charms. Fifth place could have been a few pets, but I think the one that has some decent utility is the mechanical Prairie Dog. If you're slower, you can use Adrenaline Rush to get faster, then mitigate damage with extra plating, or use Burrow on your last round with your speed buff, so the enemy will miss 2 hits if they're faster than you. If you want to stay slower, you can use Metal Fist, or again, use Adrenaline Rush so batter has a chance for its bonus hit. It also has Explode, which is always a great ability to have on your team to finish off an enemy or to take out a nice chunk for a new enemy that's just come in. It's just kind of an all-around decent mech pet if your roster is lacking in one, and it only costs 75 polished pet charms. And that's it for the polished pet charm pets. I'll be putting both the Zufu's links for these pets and their Wowhead pages in the description below, so if you're interested in any of them, you can figure out how to collect them. Before we head off for the week, my tip this week is for those of you who still have a large amount of wild pets to catch, and subsequently the collecting achievements for them. What I did when I had my fresh account on EU was I checked which pets were exclusive to a particular zone, and I would use that to get my check for catching a wild pet in that zone on my achievement. Some zones will have more than one exclusive pet, but usually pets can be found in at least a couple zones. As an example, the Stone Talon Mountains have 2 zone exclusive pets according to the journal, the Venom Spitter Hatchling and the Coral Snake. I collected those 2 for my zone check mark for Stone Talon, but saved the rest of the pets, marked as being in Stone Talon, for zones with higher levels for those pets. For another example, instead of catching a rat in Stormwind at level 1, it would be easier for leveling if you wait until a higher pet level zone like Spires of Iraq, where the rats will be 25, which will reduce down to 23 upon capture, but it will only take 1 good XP Tamer battle to level them back to 25. Anywho, that's going to be it for me this week. I'll have all the pertinent links available on my tweet for the podcast, as well as in the description once it's uploaded to YouTube. Until next time, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day or night, and happy battling!